Welcome to today's Explainer. Okay, I'm just going to say it right off the bat. The concepts we're diving into today completely jolted me out of my own financial autopilot. We're looking at a framework that fundamentally rethinks the relationship between your time, your money, and most importantly, your actual fulfillment in life. So get ready for a pretty major perspective shift.
So you've probably heard the classic Aesop's fable of the ant and the grasshopper, right? The industrious ant works all summer storing up food for the winter, while the carefree grasshopper just fiddles and plays the days away. Winter finally hits, the ant survives, and the grasshopper is in absolute dire straits. The moral we're always taught is to work hard and save. But let me ask you a question. When does the ant ever actually get to play? If the ant spends its entire short life slaving away for the future, when does he actually get to enjoy being alive?
That exact question is basically the heartbeat of the source material for this explainer. We're exploring a fascinating book called Die with Zero by author Bill Perkins. Now, Perkins isn't your typical financial guru. He's actually trained as an engineer, and because of that, he approaches life completely differently. Rather than just setting arbitrary financial goals, he treats life like an engineering optimization problem. The goal? Figuring out how we get absolutely everything we can from our money and our time before it all runs out.
Section 1. The ultimate optimization problem: maximizing fulfillment and minimizing waste.
Perkins hits the nail on the head right away. He says, this book is not about making your money grow, it's about making your life grow. See, most of us wander through life acting as if we have an infinite amount of time. We constantly delay gratification. We save, and we save, and we save, just assuming we're going to eventually cash in on all that hard work way down the line. But the tragic reality is that too many of us delay this gratification for so long that we end up saving money for experiences we'll eventually be way too old or physically unhealthy to actually enjoy. I mean, saving up for a massive ski trip in the Alps doesn't do you much good if your knees can't handle the slopes by the time you can finally afford the ticket. Living as if time is infinite is a massive trap.
Moving into Section 2, money is life energy, the true cost of a dollar.
Okay, so we have to unpack this absolutely crucial concept of life energy. Basically, it is all the finite hours that you are alive to actually do things. Whenever you work, you are spending a piece of this finite energy. You really have to internalize that every single dollar you earn represents a very specific amount of your life energy that you permanently traded away to get it. When you buy something, you aren't just handing over a piece of paper or swiping a plastic card, you are literally handing over the actual hours of your life it took to earn it.
Let's put this into perspective and see how it plays out in the real world when you compare jobs. On paper, a $70,000 salary obviously looks way better than a $40,000 salary, right? But hold on, you've got to factor in the hidden life energy costs of that higher-paying gig, the brutal commute into the city, the expensive wardrobe you have to buy, the extra hours chained to your desk, and the massive loss of free time. Suddenly, that lower salary might actually yield a much higher actual income per hour, leaving you with way more time to, well, actually live your life.
Perkins talks about having this realization, and it was kind of like the end of the movie The Matrix for him. He just suddenly saw the world completely differently. He started asking himself, are you taking my life energy and giving me paper? It totally changes your everyday decisions. Perkins literally looks at a cookie and calculates the exact amount of time he'd have to spend suffering on a treadmill to burn it off, just to see if the trade is worth it. And honestly, we should be doing that exact same math with our purchases, using the irreplaceable hours of our lives.
Which brings us to Section 3, earning the memory dividend, return on experience.
Now, this right here is a total game changer, the memory dividend. We define this as the ongoing, compounding enjoyment and memories you receive over a lifetime from investing in an experience. Think about it. When you go on an incredible backpacking trip through Europe, you don't just enjoy those specific 2 weeks you're traveling. You enjoy the memories for decades. You tell stories at dinner parties. You bond with your friends over it. You smile looking at old photos on your phone. That single experience pays a continuous emotional return that just keeps right on compounding over time.
Think of it like a giant puzzle. Imagine assigning actual points to every positive experience you have. If we graph out our lives, you can clearly see how things like a vacation, a holiday with family, or a romantic weekend getaway stack up as literal building blocks of fulfillment. The higher the bars, the more fulfilling the life. Pretty straightforward, right?
But here is where it gets absolutely wild. When we factor in the memory dividend, you can brilliantly see the compounding effect in action. The dividends from year 1 literally carry over into year 2, year 3, and so on, stacking on top of the base experiences. Sometimes the ongoing memory of an experience, just reliving it and sharing it with others, ends up bringing even more total joy over your lifetime than the original event itself. It's incredible.
This requires a massive, massive shift from traditional financial thinking over to optimal life thinking. We are so obsessed with return on equity in our culture, trying to squeeze out a conservative 3 or 4% financial yield on a property over 15 years. But what if we focused on return on experience? Irreplaceable moments that yield massive memory dividends. And here is the catch, guys. To get the most out of this, you absolutely have to invest in these experiences while you are young and physically healthy enough to enjoy them, giving those dividends decades to actually compound.
Section 4. The tragic cost of oversaving. Are you working for free?
Let's look at a scenario with someone named Elizabeth. She's fictitious, sure, but man, is she relatable. She's a 45-year-old who does exactly what society tells her to do. Here is her savings trap. Step 1. She diligently saves and retires at 65 with a very solid $770,000 nest egg. Step 2. She lives carefully, spending a modest $32,000 a year in retirement. Step 3. She passes away at age 85. But look at what happens at the very end. She dies, leaving behind $130,000 in totally unspent wealth.
Now, prepare yourself for this number. If we translate that leftover $130,000 back into life energy, based on Elizabeth's net hourly rate, the result is $6,646. That is how many hours Elizabeth spent sitting in an office working for absolutely nothing. She spent over 2.5 years of 50-hour work weeks trading her precious life energy for money she never, ever got to spend. What a heartbreaking waste, right?
And here is a really sad part. Elizabeth is definitely not alone. If you look at this data from the Federal Reserve, median net worth doesn't just peak at retirement and then fall. It continues to climb well into people's mid-70s. People are literally in their 70s, still accumulating wealth for the future, just refusing to spend down what they've spent their whole lives saving. Millions of people are on track to let their hard-earned money outlive them.
And the inertia, it gets even crazier when you look at spending habits 20 years into retirement. Non-pensioners spend down only 34% of their assets. That means they are leaving 66% entirely untouched. But get this, pensioners, people with a guaranteed income for life who have zero rational fear of running out of money, spend down a measly 4%. We are so culturally trapped by the habit of saving that we literally don't know how to stop being the ant.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, aiming to die with zero, maximizing fulfillment. I really want this quote to sink in today. If you die with $1 million left, that's $1 million of experiences you didn't have. Passing away with a giant pile of leftover money is not a badge of honor. It is a tragic, mathematically proven waste of your precious, completely irreplaceable life energy. This just totally flipped my perspective. The true peak of efficiency isn't dying rich. It's managing your wealth so it reaches exactly zero the moment you pass away.
So what is the ultimate takeaway here? Start early. Start early, start early, start early. Financial advisors drill this into our heads when it comes to investing money so it can compound, but Perkins is saying this about investing in experiences. Don't wait until you're frail. The earlier you invest in an experience, the longer your memory dividends have time to compound and enrich the rest of your life.
So I'm going to leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on today. How much of your own life energy are you actually willing to waste? It is time to stop acting like the mindless ant, stuck on autopilot, just accumulating grain you're never going to eat. Start optimizing your life, invest in those amazing experiences, and maximize your fulfillment before your time runs out. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer. Now go out there and start living.